Hi. Today, July 7th, 2022, my son Aaron has been dead 10 years. As I said on his birthday last month, he has been dead 1/3 as long as he was alive, since he died right after turning 30. I knew losing a child would be devastating. I honestly thought I'd die if I lost one of my children. I didn't though. I had to keep living. But the thing is, in a sense, I did die when Aaron died. The person living today is not the person who lived before. I'm no longer that innocent, naive person. I don't share her thoughts about much of anything. Sometimes I truly think that my DNA changed when I lost my son. The death of a loved one changes us in 1,000 ways that we never thought about, and hurts in 1,000 ways that we never knew it could. I asked other grieving mothers if my grief would get better. They all told me the same thing: it changes. I didn't know what that meant, and it didn't give me a lot of hope. Still, it was something. I understand what those women meant now. The grief never really goes away. We just learn how to live with it. We find coping mechanisms and develop ways to mask our grief. And I don't mean to pretend it doesn't exist. Grief must be dealt with. It better be dealt with. Because if it isn't, it attacks our body physically. We might break out in a rash. We might get a tick in our eye. We might start to hear our heart pounding in our ear. We might feel a choking sensation. Our hair might even start to fall out. We will deal with our grief one way or another. The first few days I was in shock. And I think that's natural. I had no idea about the pain that was coming. In the first year, I thought Aaron was coming back. I saved newspaper and magazine articles and videos from TV shows and YouTube so I could show them to him when he returned. I thought of things I was going to tell him. I guess the grief is just so much that we have to accept that it's real a little bit at a time. In some ways, the second year was worse because by that point I knew Aaron wasn't coming back, so I had to get used to that. I mean, of course, I always knew, but our brains have a way of denying horrific events that we can't completely handle. I remember the first time I stopped fighting my grief and trying to make it just go away. I couldn't go to bed back then. This was during the first few months. I couldn't even take off my day clothes and put on night clothes. I had to trick myself into sleep. So I would lie down at night in a recliner in the living room just to take a rest. I pretended that's all it was. And so a few months after Aaron died and I was suffering deeply, I was lying there in the recliner, suddenly I said, okay, all right, if this is how it is, then it's how it is. I have to live this way. And I stopped fighting. I said to grief, come on in. Take up residence. Become a part of me. Now, I didn't say those words, but that was my feeling. That's what I was doing. And I wrapped my grief around me like a warm blanket and accepted it into my heart. And strangely, that brought some measure of comfort. There are times, even now, after 10 years, when grief hits so hard that it feels fresh and new. It's like I push it down and I sit on it as long as I can. But at some point, my weight is not enough to hold it down, and it just comes gushing forth. Like new. In a sense, it always feels new, but sometimes it just beats down on me and feels like it's going to swallow me up. Grief, as it ages, is like a wound that's been sewed up and suddenly bursts open again. and the blood pours. If a memory, and even a good memory, pops up, especially at night, the pain in my chest feels like, I think, lightning or electricity would feel. So I scream no in my head till the memory's gone. Or I suffer later for this. The sorrow builds up to a breaking point, and at some time in the future, usually suddenly, the grief just comes on with a vengeance. It won't be denied, it will be dealt with. In the times when my grief hits strongly, a realization comes that brings fatigue and another kind of sadness. While I always know it'll be the case, I realize then, on a deeper level, that the grief has always been there just the same as always, tucked inside my heart. I was always grieving. I am always grieving. And yes, I knew, but when it hits like that, I know on a whole deeper level. And the tears fall. For instance, just last week, I broke down bawling as I hung onto the refrigerator. I was putting away some cranberries. And the lyrics, "Carry on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more," popped into my head, and I just couldn't bear it. Back in March 20th to be exact, I thought of the song Your Song. And when I sang the line, "I don't have much, oh but boy if I did, I'd buy a big house where we both could live." And I broke down because of something Aaron said not long before he died. He'd applied for a job that was going to pay a lot. And he said if he got the job, he'd buy a house for him, his dad, and me. Deep grief happens because of deep love. And honestly, I would never want to stop grieving for my son. Also, there's a brightness in this painful sorrow that I didn't expect. And that's that joy now is far deeper than it was before. I don't know whether that's because being always sad, joy simply seems deeper when it's compared to how I normally feel, or whether I simply appreciate good things more than I ever did, than I ever could before. But the smallest things bring joy, an exaggerated joy. Winning 2 small Snickers at my granddaughter's birthday party made me jump up and down this year. And this greater joy is not just for myself either. Last week I was stopped at a red light. Suddenly the woman in the vehicle next to me started blasting her horn. I looked at her to see what was going on, and she was smiling and looking to our left. I followed her gaze and saw a truck had pulled out from the side road, gone through the light, and was about to head down the road in the opposite direction from us. And the man in the truck was staring at the woman, and like her, he was smiling. And joy bubbled up inside me. I felt lucky that I had been able to witness this moment of surprise and happiness that these 2 people, husband and wife, brother and sister, friends, I don't know, experienced by chance. So I had a big smile on my face too. I too got to be a part of their chance meeting on the road. I got to share their joy. And thinking about it now makes my heart swell. When I typed this up, tears sprang to my eyes. Love is all that is important in this life. And it can be shown in many ways. Blowing a horn to say hi to someone we care about. The touch of a hand when we're sad. A look of sympathy or understanding from a friend. A note saying, "I'm proud of you." An invitation to join someone on a trip to Walmart. Making a special dish we know someone likes. A comment, a heart, or a like on a post. We remember kindnesses. We remember love. Whether acts of love are big or small, they are extremely meaningful. And all piled up, they make our lives worth living. Aaron was a generous person. And in his death, he touched the lives of millions. People all over the world grieved for him and with us. And the love they shared on my family and me has helped us tremendously to bear up under our loss. My heart hurts. It hurts all the time. But I'll carry on. There'll be peace for me when I'm done too. And I love my children and their families, and I want to continue to have joyful, fun, and meaningful times with them that we can remember as good moments in our lives. Aaron's life was precious, and we will always grieve for him. Our lives are precious as well. And as we continue to miss our son and brother, I want my other children to live their lives with as much passion and joy and adventure and excitement and compassion and love as they can humanly muster. And I know that's what they want for me too, and what Aaron would want for all of us. I want to thank all the people who have been with me through these past 10 years. It's amazing how wonderful people can be. My children have been amazing. I cannot imagine how they could have supported me more than they have. And that was and is even in their own grief. Without my 3 children who are still with me, I honestly doubt I would even be here today. Other family members have also been consistent in standing for me and by me all these 10 long years. A couple of nieces have even shared their own stories or videos about Aaron, and it means the world to me. I'm also deeply grateful for the friends who have sent cards and gifts and books, and those who have checked on me for 10 years. I have been checked on, and I am deeply grateful. I'm thankful to the reporters and the recipients of Aaron's Last Wish. We used to do the $500 tips every week, and the joy the servers who received the money exhibited helped carry me through another week. And to all the people who have commented or reacted on my posts about Aaron through the years, and especially the first 8 days of July each year, thank you. Your comments and reactions have added something to my heart, and that love has diluted the grief that is running rampant during this time. It's not easy to respond appropriately when you're grieving. And I never sent any thank you cards that I can recall. I read all the notes and cards, but I could never bring myself to look at them again to be able to know what to say, if I sent a thank you card. I just wasn't capable. But please know this. If your name showed up anywhere in any way to comfort me, I noticed, I remember, and I thank you. Thank you all for watching this.